We always say the universe selects.
Right. Okay.
It's out of our hands.
Yeah.
This is how I say happen more than you can think.
Freshen up your taste.
Joost van der Leij is one of the best-known Dutch neurolinguistic programmers. He is a licensed NLP Master Trainer by the International Society of Neurolinguistic Programming. He did not only learn NLP from Richard Bandler, but he also worked with many other well-known neurolinguistic programmers across the globe. Joost is the founder of the Institute for Unconventional Wisdom, and in working with people for almost 2 decades, he has written over 14 books, given training all over the world, and developed his own Neurogram method. In the past years, Joost has been developing NLP Magick, a special group of people that go beyond normal NLP. In this interview, Joost explains what NLP Magick is and how to use it. This interview is done by Jasper Geluk, filmed at Kasteel Woerden, and is an initiative of Geluk Communications.
Welcome, Joost, to this interview. I'm very honored that you're here, and we're going to talk about NLP Magick. I know that Richard also studied shamanism. Mm-hmm. Is that similar? Did you also study shamanism? Or is
No. We have now that we have a whole community, international community, people in India and Europe and the US, and we get all kind of different trainers with different backgrounds. So my business partner, Kate Benson, is now doing a female version of, I'm not allowed to call it female version, I'm supposed to say NLP Magick. She's doing NLP Magick the Universe, I'm doing NLP Magick the Magician edition. But she came up with the program after she had done my program. She fell in love with the NLP Magick idea. But she said to me, Joost, your program is a little bit too much male energy.
Right.
I like rigidity, concreteness, down-to-earthness, and so basically if you have meta programs, options or procedures, the NLP Magick, the Magician, my course is really procedural.
Right, really structured.
Yes, so you said you liked the structured, simple explanation. That is what you get in NLP Magick, the Magician.
Yeah.
And the Universe, her version, is way more free-flowing. You can compare, even though you need to be a master practitioner before you to participate. And is the case is that my course is more of the NLP Magick practitioner guide, where you, like in the practitioner, get a very clear guidelines and procedures, protocols to get spiritual and magical experiences. And then Cater version, the NLP Magick, the Universe edition, is much more like the master practitioner, where it's much more free-flowing. You're going to create your own magical rituals, have your own magical journeys, and are much more like a master practitioner, creatively busy with spirituality and magic. Yeah. Fortunately, neither we have done much with shamanism, but we have another great trainer. It's called Frankie Sykes, and it's still a secret, so I can't tell you anything about it. It's not even supposed.
This is the point. Lots of this is secret. So.
No, we're not even supposed to say that we're going to do it, but we're not even sure we're going to do it. We might not come with a sufficiently or a good enough program. But the program is very good. There are all kinds of structure. No, the shamanism, you have to go out in nature and stuff. So we have to find caves and where we go doing stuff. So that's, we're not going to do fake caves. We're going to go to real caves and stuff like that. Yeah. And it's going to be called NLP Magick the Fool, and it will be the shaman version. Right. So Richard's background, it's very interesting. Kate speaks lots more with Richard about this than I do, but Kate tells me, which is very nice of her. First of all, when I was doing the NLP Magick course, I thought, okay, in my case, I think if you claim NLP is magic, one ought to have at least a couple of quotes, hopefully from the early books, where you can say, okay, here, read it, and you can see there's somehow that's linked to magic. Yeah. So I thought, okay, let's revisit the structure of magic. Right. Of course, that's already called magic, and I've had several training programs.
Away in the title there.
Exactly. And but there are also many programs unfortunately, they're not running them anymore, like shamanics in what we did in Brighton.
They stopped those.
Yes. Where Richard openly says that, of course, the structure of magic was supposedly to be the magic of communication or the magic of language. But he said, I also explicitly wanted to have the link to real magic, but it came. So, of course, when then I took the book, and at first struck me that on the cover there's a magician.
Right.
Then I opened the book, and at the very first page it goes on about through the ages we have had shamans and magicians and warlocks. Also warlords, but we're not doing that much with warlocks. But warlords in NLP Magick, more and more warlocks. And they said, and people were feared by them, or they were feared by people, but on the other hand, when people had problems, they also came to them for help. So it's right there, it's not a secret. And so Richard came from a magical perspective.
And then he also picked up at one point that he wanted to put it in the bookshops under magic, but they didn't let him. He had to put it under language.
That is one of the stories that goes through the thing. So, in that sense, NLP is magic. And there are many different forms of magic. And what we are doing is high ritual magic, which in my case is more about what has been done in the Golden Dawn. And all the stuff, where basically the idea is that you raise yourself up, that each as a person, you are a microcosm. People always talk about the loss of the ego, but I like to talk more about microcosms. It really has not that much to do with the ego. Is that people are microcosms, then you have the universe as a macrocosm, and the idea is that when you go on your magical journey, that the part that you are as a microcosmos becomes less and less and less, and that you integrate more and more of the macrocosmos. So you get less selfish. That's one of the ideas. But there's also something called duality. So we live in a dual world in the sense that you always have the perceiver and what is being perceived. And the claim for lots of spiritual magical systems is that they can, I say somehow, and that's the whole idea of yoga, that you can somehow have the perceived object and the perceiver, the subject, become one, so that everything becomes one, and that there's no longer a difference between perceiving and being perceived, being the subject and object. Well, the small issue is that on the way, so they're basically, so we live in the dual world, and there's we don't know exactly what it is. It might be a state of the world, maybe it is a state of your consciousness, but there is some kind of state where there is no duality. But what people always overlook, but it's basically because they have no clue and have not, you talked about the details, have not gotten all the details right, is that in between there's something that I call reverse duality. So where basically black becomes white and white becomes black. But it also means that if you're at this level working if you're integrating the macrocosmos into your microcosmos, so you get less and less microcosmos, then once you get halfway, you even get less microcosmos, but you appear more selfish. So all the true great adepts were always accused of being selfish bastards. But it also has to do with that people just overlook the idea that there's something called reverse duality halfway on the spiritual path.
Can you tell us a little bit about spiritual experiences? Because I think this is something that's a part of the NLP Magick.
Yes,
as far as I could find out.
Well, that's correct. So we're not teaching any spiritual theology or ideology. We're taking the NLP approach. We're basically saying when we don't care what is really real, we only care how do we perceive it, how does it appear to us. And then, of course, the only thing that matters are spiritual experiences. And there's a very interesting neuroscientific research into mystical experiences, and that shows that there are basically two processes going on. One has to do with the same brain structure that also is activated when people have multiple personality disorders.
Right.
So this is called the body double. So the whole idea within Magick is that you have some kind of body of light, a body double, and that rather than travel in your physical body, you can actually travel to interesting places in your body double. So we do a lot of stuff with that. But the research shows that basically what you're doing is activating the same stuff that in normal people would lead to multiple personality syndrome, multiple personality disorders called nowadays. And that's why the Magick training has to be very careful, because basically you take something and that what in normal people would lead to very severe psychiatric issues, but you now can take the same kind of brain processes and then steer them in two different directions, so people have wonderful spiritual experiences.
Okay, yeah, I wanted to ask what would be the benefit of that, but so they have beautiful
Well,
experiences.
there's no benefits. I'll talk a little bit about that. Let me first tell about the second process. Because the second process is the ego loss, the idea of that everything is one, the melting of say that you yourself disappear, but that you join in the oneness of the universe. Now, when people experience that, again, neuroscience nowadays shows which part in the brain is activated. It's the same part that is activated in cases of people having depersonalization issues. Another very terrible psychiatric issue. I worked with a couple of people with depersonalization issues. It ruins people's lives. They have panic attacks. They're almost always anxious that they disappear from the world. So again, we have something that is a disaster in normal life, but if you're very careful with the right kind of training and the right kind of facilitating, then you can take those very negative patterns and turn them around and become very positive. And the only small issue is what's the benefit of it? What's the purpose of it all? And there's a definitional question between high magic and low magic.
Right.
High magic. This is magic is a very hierarchical system. This high magic only means that you're basically working with the macrocosmos.
Right. The
macrocosmos, and most of the time supposed to be up there, so that's why it's called high. And low magic is more concerned with microcosmos.
Yeah.
But the idea of the only purpose of high magic is to either, depends on whether you're a mystic or a magician, to join the oneness and if your little self dissolve in the greater whole, or that's more the way magicians describe it, to make sure that you get your rightful place among the gods. So again, this sounds like
sounds like a good sales pitch. Get your place among the gods.
Well, I don't know. I think it's a very bad sales pitch. I think there are not that many people actually think that they would be capable of doing that. So, also important is in the 19th century, the scientific method came about, and since then, spiritual and magical people have always strongly wanted to make sure that they were in line with science. So the motto became the aim of religion, the method of science. Of course, they were not scientific at all. They then kept a magical diary, and then that was basically, but then stating what they experienced. That was science enough. If you look, for instance, at the work of Milton Erickson, he is the most published psychiatrist of all ages, because he published in his own scientific magazine all these case studies. But then the scientific method found out that we don't have much to do with case studies. It's now all statistics. So as I happen to be as a philosopher, a canonical school philosopher, 4 or 5 years ago I fell in love with statistics. And so we do a completely scientifically valid way of doing magic by basically making sure that we always, with whatever we do, claim that it is highly unlikely. Right. So there's a whole statistical... Bayesian this is called subjective Bayesian statistics. And we use that to show scientists that we are completely on the same page as them, as to regard the likelihood of the magic being real. It is all highly unlikely. So the big purpose is either to join oneness or to get your rightful place among the gods. But it's highly unlikely that you will do that. In fact, you need to have dispensation from higher magical orders in order to initiate people. And we only have dispensation from, I think, 3 of the 4 mystery schools that I'm part of. They have given me dispensation to initiate people for the first 5 levels. So we can bring people almost halfway, but never all the way to godhood.
Right.
So if you are looking for that, I have to apologize. But everything we do is highly unlikely.
Yeah.
And what we do, we concentrate on is what's called the elemental grades. The elemental grades are basically earth, water, air, and fire. And the idea is that you balance those forces.
Right.
Earth is about the earthly stuff. Basically making sure you have a healthy body, are free from sexual frustration, and are free from worries about money. The water part is about finding true love and making sure you're quite capable of dealing with your emotions. The air part is about communications, being rational, scientific, and being able to hypnotize yourself and others, or break through what I call spells that other people or society has cast on you. And finally, fire is about willpower and aspiration. Aspiration being inspiration that comes from the inside. But if you compare those with NLP, of course, a lot of stuff already sounds like NLP. And for me, those 4 grades, they reflect the 4 unconscious tasks that we have in life. So NLP is about 5 tasks in life, 4 unconscious tasks and 1 conscious task. So Earth, in order to get a healthy body and to be free of sexual frustration and to be free of worries about money, you need to make good decisions. So the important part of NLP is about decision making, and that covers the earth plane. Right. Then you have the water plane, finding your true love. Now, depending where you look on the internet, there are all interesting guides on how to pick up girls. I don't know whether you know.
Will we find this in the magic course? Or
Definitely. It's one of the more secret parts. I don't know whether you know the book The Game.
I know. Yeah.
Yes, it's about pickup artists who were around 2000.
About a month ago, I also saw the seduction training done by Richard in the 90s or something, where he's wearing a tuxedo.
Couples, yes, that's a very nice video.
Yeah.
Yes, it's, a couple of the people who are in the game book, I actually coach them for their NLP skills.
Oh, cool.
Yes.
So this will actually be a part of the magic training.
Not as extensive as for the pickup artist, but we have clear strategies how to make sure you find your true love.
Okay.
Yes.
Cool.
So the Gunwitch character and other characters.
I guess it goes further than you would in a practitioner or a master practitioner course.
Not in my courses.
Really?
I'm very explicit in my
courses.
And the other thing is, of course, dealing with your emotions.
Okay.
So, that's all, of course, all NLP. That's the second task for the unconscious mind, which is basically to feel good, and no matter the circumstances. And then air, ratio, or it's communication, hypnosis, of course, the linguistic part of NLP. And fire, willpower, and aspiration. That's the 30-year plan that we have with timelines with NLP.
Yeah.
As you can see that the whole this is a very traditional setup of magic. It's not like something I made up. It's like for the last 300 or 400 years how it's been done in Europe.
Yeah.
The earth, water, air, fire plane. So it's, but it's how you say? It's 2 sides of the same coin if you compare it with NLP.
Right.
So in this sense, NLP really is magic, and magic is really.
And then maybe the question: why, if you've done a practitioner and a master practitioner course, would you go ahead and do the course with Kate or the course with you in NLP Magick to add on the?
That's a very good question. First of all, we're an ugly duckling society. So, although we love all people and we think everybody is fantastic, we see ourselves as really working for ugly ducklings. So there's, like, say, 1 in 100 people is someone who doesn't feel at home in groups, doesn't want to join clubs, that's why we are a club for people who don't want to join clubs.
Right.
Who are always the cast out, who is the black sheep of the family.
Yeah.
We are there for them.
Yeah.
So in our experience, you said I'm the founder of the Institute of Unconventional Wisdom. I'm really able to make that count.
Right.
People come to me after the first day in a course and they go, "Wow, this is really unconventional."
Yeah.
So yeah, that's the reason why we put it on the front door. So it's not for everybody. It's okay if it's not for you. So we had people quit after the first 3 days. Basically, the setup is that the first 3 days are preparation, and the last 3 days are initiation. And if people don't feel right about it in the first 3, then we have a very decent way of saying goodbye. But especially if you're an ugly duckling, then it is something for you. So I always compare it to Neo in the Matrix. He has a splinter in his mind. He knows there is something more than what he can see and perceive, but he doesn't know what it is. And then he goes out and tries to find it. And then, of course, he gets offered the blue pill or the red pill, and the blue pill gives him back, and then he goes back into dreamland, and the red pill he wakes up. So that's how we see NLP Magick is only for those master practitioners who have the feeling that there is something more, that there's a splinter in their mind. And if you look at the tarot cards, I've done a lot of tarot reading as a teenager. Kate is very impressed by my tarot readings, and nowadays also have to do tarot readings in her course. So other people can see. And I don't, if I do a tarot reading, I don't foretell the future. What I do, I tell what happened in the last 3 months in people's life, so they can immediately check to see whether that is correct or not. And in part, it's cold reading. In part, it's hypnotic language patterns.
I find it interesting being so straightforward about in part it's cold reading, because I think there's a lot of people who work with spiritual experiences that won't admit that for a large part, for a lot of them, they use a lot of cold reading.
Yes.
So
when I said we're doing completely scientific, valid
you
methods,
actually meant it.
I actually meant it.
Yeah.
We have the statistics to prove it.
Yeah.
At the same time, the tarot cards, the way they're actually used within Magick is not for fortune telling, but it's a roadmap.
Right.
So the idea is that you are a hero and you come on a hero's journey, and it's basically literally a depiction of the hero's journey. So the first card is the Fool, and here we see this young man with a knapsack, ready to go out in the world. And on the cards that are drawn right, either a crocodile or a tiger is biting him in his leg. And that's the people we're looking for. People who see themselves as fools, who are willing to go out and adventure, go out and explore the world, but who at the same time are bitten by the tiger. And the tiger stands for reality. That they're basically just a splinter in the mind where they go, okay, I know there is something. And then it might be, a large part might be cold reading, might be in large part might be hypnosis. We definitely say it's highly unlikely that it's already. Nevertheless, the experiences people have within the NLP Magick courses, there is nothing quite like it. It is the most extreme, most impactful hypnosis that people have had experience in any course. It's I would say, even if you're very rational. In Edinburgh, it was a very rational guy. In fact, I was so happy that he was there, because he was the first NLP, and he's an NLP trainer, quite a famous trainer from the UK. And he was as cynical as I am about everything, which is fantastic. He also happened to have studied philosophy, so he was also the first guy that took me about 3 or 4 days before I found something that he didn't know about NLP. So normally when I meet NLP trainers, I can ask one question and the whole world collapses. They go, oh fuck, I don't know that. But with him, I had to try for 3 days, and on I think the 4th day, or the end of the 3rd day, I finally got the question right. And he didn't blink that much, but I saw it in his eyes. The guy in his eyes went, oh shit, I don't know this, which was great. So we take a very hands-on approach and basically say, don't believe anything, don't believe us, we're just looking for experiences. Don't try to rationalize your experience, don't try to use your experience as proof that it is really spiritual this or spiritual that. Just stay with the rituals. And then, of course, we talked about it in the Dutch interview. It's very important to actually do the stuff. There's a lot of stuff that needs to be done after the course. Initiation only means the beginning.
Right.
That's the first step.
So this course would be an initiation into what you're going to do afterwards.
Well, actually, when you do the course 5 times.
Okay.
So
what does that mean?
What
You
it means,
literally do the course 5 times?
you literally do the course 5 times.
Okay.
So we have dispensation for 5 initiations.
Okay.
And then the way to get to the next initiation is to do the course again, either with me or with Kate, or with Frankie, if Frankie is going to do his course. Or if you come and insist. So, and in the beginning, and this is where it gets really tricky, because I'm a very cynical, down-to-earth, very scientific, academic philosopher. Going on about it, it's cold reading, it's highly unlikely, it's hypnosis. So when we for the first time had people come in and assist, and we would initiate, we always have a day before the real course starts with all the assisting team to initiate them and to train them, give them new rituals and stuff like that. Normally assisting is, I say, a job that you need to love, because you're not going to get that much out of it. After you've done it, if the first time assisting, you learn a lot, but after some time, then
I've assisted someone for about a year.
Yes. So we have a special day for the assisting team, where they learn a lot of new stuff. But basically, for me, the first time in the initiation, second initiation, I was going, well, it's all hypnosis, cold reading and stuff. Let's go through it. And then when I did it. This was my experience. The atmosphere got really weird. So it made way more impact on the participant or the assisting team in this case. Way more impact on myself. Way more on my personal life than I would have expected.
Right.
So I think that one of the reasons why these rituals, these old ancient 100, 200, 300 year old rituals are so powerful is that these are very smart people who lived in that time, and they created some very, very powerful suggestions and structure. That nowadays, after the first time, I learned my lesson. So now I'm much more prepared for that to happen. But you can see it in the. They now have like three of maybe even the 4th level initiates, and they really do start to change their life and turn around and become different persons. It's,
cool.
Yes. So, but this is not the object. So the whole object of the course is only the one purpose. Well, basically, you have the main purpose that is to join oneness or to take your rightful place among the gods. So fortunately, we have a halfway station where you basically, for the first time, become a real magician. We're not bringing you; we're only bringing you almost there. But we explain how you get there, but you have to do it on your own because we don't want to take responsibility for it. But this is where you come into contact with your holy guardian angel and you discover your true path and true will. So those are basically the only purposes. Nevertheless, if people even without any purpose do the ritual stuff, you see that it will improve their lives by a lot.
I love where you say that you promise very little.
Yes.
With NLP Magick, and how would that be in English? You promise little
and we how will you say that? We promise little but achieve a lot. Yes. Actually, we start the course with a whole morning on statistics, where we prove that what we're going to do is all highly unlikely. But the magical spirit is basically saying, okay, we understand it is highly unlikely, but where normal people normally, the normal ducklings would go, oh, but if it's highly unlikely, why do it? Why would you do it if it's highly unlikely? We go, it's highly unlikely, And we do.
That's it. Yeah.
Yes.
Cool. In the Netherlands, you do some weekend courses where you have some stuff about NLP Magick.
Yes.
Does that also happen in the UK or in Scotland?
Yeah, the next one abroad is scheduled for, actually the first one is in December in Belgium.
Yeah, so that's December 16.
No, December 2016, 6th and 7th of December.
Yeah.
That's pretty much about language patterning.
Yeah.
And then we have a big one in Oslo in March. 2017, yes.
Yeah.
And there are...
Does Kate any weekends or things in the UK to kind of get a feel for what this is in a weekend?
Well, Kate is coming to Oslo. She's
okay.
one of the presenters. I'm there, Kate is there, and one of our region NLP trainers is part of the NLP Magick community is there as well. And we're currently looking into doing one in London. And we're talking about Newcastle and for one reason Malta.
Okay.
So we're looking at many different places.
Yeah. So I guess if they just check out the website, that they will find the most.
Yes. So there is the
updates.
NLPmagick.net website. There's also the NLPconference.eu website.
I'll make sure you can click on it right after the video, or maybe right now.
Super handy.
All right. Cool. So that's what I've been there to those kind of short previews, which is a wonderful way to get to know more about NLP Magick.
Definitely. It's basically, if you like that, then the whole course will be a fantastic process. If you don't like it, then it's,
well, you'll find out. Yeah.
Yes, probably not so good.
Thank you very much, Joost. We also did an interview in Dutch just now. You can also look at that if you want.
If you're able to understand.
If you're able to understand Dutch, yeah. Thank you very much, Joost, for your time and for this interview.
Yes, excellent.
Thanks.
Bringing me to all these different countries to teach them. It's very nice to explain spirituality to people from India.
Yeah.
Like
You told me.
doing it the other way around. So now you see that now more and more people understand in the Netherlands is that, okay, maybe this guy does know a lot about the stuff about NLP that we're missing.
Right.
So now, for the first time, I think, the last 16 years, more and more Dutch NLP trainers are actually
starting to pay attention.
Yes, and actually start to sign up for courses and make sure that they up their game and actually learn stuff like language patterns.
Right.
It's a very simple meta model. You would suppose that they would know it, and there is still a lot that they don't know about the meta model. For instance,